Nintendo finally did it. They just announced the Nintendo Switch 2. Yes, it is official. It's no longer a leak. It's no longer a rumor. And I'm going to talk about the leaks and my whole thoughts on it. But just to get it out of the way, the first look trailer came out and it's pretty much what I expected it to be, a better version of the Switch. And I think that's the problem is everybody kind of knew what to expect. They were just waiting for Nintendo to just finally do something and announce it. But going through the teaser, I love the fact that the system is a lot bigger than the original Switch. It feels more premium, and you have an extra USB slot on the top of the system. They're deciding to change the kickstand again by adding this sort of U shape to it, and it extends pretty far back. I don't know if that's going to be any issues because everyone knows that the Nintendo Switch 7 years ago had a really bad kickstand, and then we got the OLED. It really looks to me like a souped up OLED, but I don't know if the Switch 2 is going to have an OLED screen. Then it shows the increased size in the Joy-Cons. The Joy-Cons pretty much look relatively the same, minus the fact that they're bigger and they have that extra little part added in the center. I don't know what it's going to be called, but even though they look the same, I would say that the Joy-Cons have probably got the most significant upgrade by the looks of it off of this trailer, because you have this magnetic piece that now snaps onto the Switch rather than it being a slide-on rail, which that is absolutely really good. I don't know if we're still going to have any issues with the Joy-Cons drifting because they are showing the Joy-Cons move around. I really hope Nintendo decides to fix that. And I think what's even more interesting here is that they show the Joy-Cons sliding down like a mouse. And my guess is, based off the leaks, people were talking about how there's like a little sensor that may allow you to use this as a mouse, or have games that may incorporate some sort of cursor, maybe Mario Paint, as a lot of commenters have already been talking about. Some of the other stuff that I'm very still curious about is that extra C button that is supposed to be on the right side of the Joy-Con, because we have the old camera button on the left side, and then it looks bigger, more sleek design. And then you get a little bit of Mario Kart gameplay, and it shows it docking to the screen, and then it closes off with 2025. And they chose the smart move by making sure that all or most Nintendo Switch games are going to be backwards compatible. The reason I say most is because that little asterisk that says certain Nintendo Switch game may not be supported or fully compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2. So I'm very curious to see what that means and how it's going to affect the system going forward. And last but not least, we're going to be getting a Nintendo Switch Direct in April of this year. So that's going to be pretty fun. It's April 2nd. Oh my lord, it is finally here. And after so many years of waiting for a rumors and Nintendo Switch leaks back and forth, we finally got something. Now, let me talk about the leaks for a minute, because do I feel like with the leaks coming out that it's possibly why, if this is not so exciting? And I'm going to have to honestly say, yes, I think it's to some extent. Nintendo is like, what can we actually do different? We've made this console really good already. What can we improve on it without breaking it, in a sense, to alienating people, right? I always think of this like the transition from the Nintendo DS to the Nintendo 3DS. The Nintendo 3DS and the Nintendo DS look very much the same on the surface level, but they have small things that make them different, like the 3D, a better joystick, more game functionality. This is what this feels like to me. Is we're at the era now where we had a hybrid system that did extremely well, and now we are just going to improve on it. And some people were saying that it looks too similar. I'm disappointed. And I'll be honest, I just don't see a point in fixing what's not already broken, in my opinion. I love the sleek design of the Nintendo Switch. I have a Nintendo Switch OLED, which I absolutely still take around with me everywhere I go. If I had to choose sometimes between taking my Nintendo Switch versus my Steam Deck, I'm going to save a little bit more space by then taking my Nintendo Switch with me. Don't get me wrong, I love my Steam Deck, and I think I'll probably still be playing my Steam Deck most of the time. But having the Nintendo Switch as a secondary option is a pretty cool system to get. So yes, I'm probably going to be picking up a Nintendo Switch 2 at launch because it's super exciting. We waited so long. But yes, I do feel like the leaks have turned around and made this feel less special. I don't want to say that leaks ruin everything, but at the same time, I just feel like there's no surprise whatsoever, at least not now. And everybody has been egging Nintendo on to announce something, or a possible conspiracy theory is that Nintendo was behind the leaks because they know that the system isn't going to be as different as the first one, and they're like, why not we just let them leak it? I don't know why Nintendo would do that, because Nintendo is not known to do that, but it would be different if Nintendo by some chance was flipping these leaks out and they had no issue with it, because they didn't bother taking anything down. All these manufacturers that have been leaking these screenshots and photos and all this, it was all pretty much legit. Nothing was fake about it. And it honestly, if anything, it may end up helping them. It kept the conversation going. It kept the conversation stirring up, and it stirred the pot as long as possible. Now, I think a surprise probably would still be better, but we are getting a direct in April that's going to have more info. So we're not left out of the dust, like fully knowing everything about what the Nintendo Switch is going to be capable of doing until that day that this direct drops. And maybe then we still might not know. But anyway, going into the things that I want to see with Nintendo Switch 2 and what I want them to see improve on the first Nintendo Switch is I really want Nintendo to come back with the feeling like it's a Nintendo system. Now, when the Nintendo Switch came out, we got no themes. We had a black and white standard theme. The eShop was very basic with no music, and to this day, it's still basic, and it runs like molasses on the Nintendo Switch. It runs slow, so that's one thing. I would love to see a better eShop, add more music to it, add some sort of improvements, maybe add a web browser if Nintendo really wants to go crazy with it, and maybe return with the Miiverse. I think if Nintendo turned around and changed up the UI, added some of the stuff that we used to get with the Wii U, and the Wii would be on fire. I'm going to give them a little bit of credit that maybe that they couldn't do that with the original Switch. Is because one, they weren't sure what they wanted to do with it, and two, maybe the horsepower couldn't really let them get away with that without bogging down some of the games. I'm sure there's many reasons why Nintendo did not improve much on the Switch as time went on, but I don't know. And then my last big one, which I don't see many people talking about, because when it comes to Nintendo Switch, most of the games that we have got, besides exclusives, they were all ports of already existing titles. And whenever a new AAA game would come out on other platforms, the Nintendo Switch was always late to the party. For example, like Hogwarts Legacy, it came out on the PlayStation and Xbox and PC first, and then Nintendo needed its own port, and it took months later. So what I would love to see them do is the same day AAA releases as their other consoles do. And the reason I think that this is important is ultimately because now Nintendo is not just competing with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox anymore. They're actually competing with themselves, and they're also competing with other handhelds. They're competing with the Steam Deck. They're competing with the ROG Ally. They're competing with other handheld devices that are going to take our attention because we've waited so long for something like the Nintendo Switch. 2. We got fed up of getting a somewhat mediocre AAA experience. We wanted like horsepower. And I think the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to do a good job, or at least I hope, do a good job of taking what they already did and just amping it up and being like, okay, you guys want 1080p at 60 FPS on a screen, or maybe 30 FPS at 1080p? Oh, do you want to bump this up to 1440p on the big screen, or even possibly 4K with lossless upscaling? I don't know what they're going to do. But the last thing too is I don't know what the dock is going to end up have any part in this. Is this dock going to be a very basic dock? Or are we going to be possibly getting some sort of eGPU or added support to the dock? It's very hard to tell, and I don't know what we're going to get out of it. I am very curious to see what Nintendo is going to bring this year. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. Thank you guys for checking out this video, and I am intrigued and I'm excited to see what's going to happen.